Hi, this is Heather Marie with Combine Couture. I'm sitting here in the studio with Christopher Collins. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Good to meet you. So, why don't you can you start and kind of tell me just a little bit about your line and who you design for?
Sure. Well, my collection is based in San Francisco. I'm a women's sportswear. They call us contemporary couture sportswear designer, and I use French and Italian fabrics, all produced locally in San Francisco in 4 factories. Where um, I love that because I get to be part of the production process, and so I'm in the factories all the time, so that I'm able to really censor the quality control. Because as a luxury designer, it's really important to me that we make pieces that will last in her closet. Not only the design integrity, but also just the construction and the quality of it all, down to the fabrics and sewing. Um, but my customer, she's a woman from anywhere from her 20s into her 50s, and I mean, I would say to the end of the line. Just that
Hmm.
it's about a fit, and it's about a body. It's not just being. I mean, there's a sexy sultriness, but really my focus is about being elegant and sophisticated, and a designer for real women.
Hmm.
I get a lot of times that, oh, I couldn't wear your clothes. I'm not a size two. But in fact, I mean, our greatest success is really in like the not size twos. I mean, those customers are beautiful and they can wear a lot of pieces, but I really focus on style lines and fit and proportion that we accommodate really the working woman, the real woman, in San Francisco and around the country.
Great. And where do you typically get your inspiration from when you're starting a new collection?
I just actually asked this recently that I get my inspiration from San Francisco. I
Hmm.
worked in Los Angeles as a designer for like Tadashi Shoji and other designers down there, and it was amazing. But I needed to come back to San Francisco because I found that I'm really stimulated by my surroundings, and
Hmm.
so I love the city here. I live in Marin, but my office is here in the city, and so every morning I drive across the Golden Gate Bridge. I see the water. You see just the power of the skyline of the city, and then just these different. We have these different pockets of San Francisco. That one is like a modern area, one is more Victorian, another is like hip and urban. And you have that like indie grunge in some places. It's just all over the board, and I find that when I'm attracted to a specific area, that tends to be where my collections really
Hmm.
focus. So last season I was really inspired by, we have these parrots of San Francisco, and it's like this kind of phenomenon here in the city that like somewhere in the 70s they were released, and they just managed to like live and thrive. And so you'll see them in different parts of the city. I don't know if it's seasonal, but I just noticed when I was working on my spring and fall, like kind of back to back, they were around the studio, and I just loved that we had parrots in a city, and and I kind of paid attention to the colors, how there's contrast from green into red on their heads, and they make a noise, but they're so beautiful. So
Hmm.
I kind of translated that back into my work. That I used, like for fall, I used black, a lot of black with texture.
Hmm.
I love texture in fabrics. So I used that texture in the black, but then also a pop with the blue. So, I didn't make garments that looked like parrots, but that was kind of on my mind. And like in managing with the seasons, and managing with how they can survive in such interesting weather. I mean, San Francisco, our weather
Hmm.
changes 10 times a day.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. So I applied it in my outerwear, and as a consumer in this city, because of the weather factor, you kind of dress in layers.
Hmm.
And so it's like you might start the day in a coat, but then you shred into a t-shirt, but then it's a little not quite cold, so you kind of go into a sweater. So we have a lot of outfits in
Hmm.
San Francisco in the course of one day. So it's kind of about that, um, about just being accessible to everybody's need.
Now that we understand kind of your inspiration
Yeah.
and how San Francisco affects you and all the different neighborhoods, like you say, and there's a lot of unique qualities with the ocean and the water and everything
Hmm.
else, the bridges near here. How do you think? We all know that you spent some time in New York. How do you think being in New York affected you as a designer versus being in San Francisco?
That's a good question. When I was on the show Project Runway, like a lot of like they would be asking us like, so are you guys nervous to be competing or working around these New York designers? Like New York is so intense and chic and fierce, and um, I find that everybody, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be a designer in your own backyard, no matter
Hmm.
what that place happens to be. As long as you have a vision and you have a focus and you
Hmm.
know what your message is, you can be anywhere. I think New York is very inspiring. Just to go back to the concept of the skyline. Every
Mm-hmm.
time I fly into JFK and I'm driving across the bridge, or you come up to it and you're about to enter Manhattan, and you see that skyline, it feels just powerful. And so with that power, I think there's the fashion sensibility, and so like that is an intimidation, but also an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about New York. It's 10 times more enormous, a million times more enormous than San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So we really do get. You have more. I think you have an opportunity to just I don't know, explore yourself, but you can here in San Francisco. So, I love New York because it keeps me really busy and I can get a lot done even without coffee there just because it's the momentum of everything. um, but um, but I'd say the two really work hand in hand with my design process. I do spend a lot of time out there, so I can't say that it's not influencing what I do. It definitely is.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. Do you have a particular style muse or style icon?
Oh, I love, I look at Dita Von Teese's outfits a lot, just because she fits the proportion of a real woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's got curves, and I think that's beautiful. I love, I love actually, uh, I would love to dress, it's one of my greatest goals, is Michelle Obama. I think she's just really epitomizes grace,
Mm-hmm.
and that is very important to me in fashion, that you can be a fashion icon, but with the grace and like personal, like with an approachable essence,
Mm-hmm.
it just feels so much more beautiful to me. And to me, that's what she is. She's someone that you could speak with, but also admire. And so, as a fashion designer, I would love to be able to dress her, because then that would mean that my message is kind of part of hers.
Uh-huh. And if she or her, she probably wouldn't be the one to call, but if her people called you
Yeah.
today and said she has an event in San Francisco tomorrow evening and needs a dress, what would you, or what, she needs an outfit, what would you design for her?
I would do probably a halter neck, because she's great shoulders, and it started I think my fascination began with her, because a lot of the styles she was wearing, that I see her wearing, are things that I find in my collections.
Mm-hmm.
That they're there. It's some of those sophisticated, elegant silhouettes that it's not about necessarily revealing everything, but it's about revealing just enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being graceful and beautiful, but also powerful. And so I would probably do something in. She wears color very well. Also, she wears just very neutral nude tones extremely well too. So I would probably put her in a cocktail dress,
Mm-hmm.
maybe something with a nice collar to just kind of feel regal and like as the first lady, but something feminine.
Sounds very nice. When did you know that you wanted to be a designer?
Um, well, I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer, certainly in college, but when I was a child, I would sew with my mom, and in high school, I took sewing classes, and I always loved the art of fashion and the art of creation and construction. I never thought it could actually be a career until a friend of mine was going into design school, and I kind of thought, oh, wow, you can do that? There's a degree in that? I mean, obviously I knew there was, but I never quite applied it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always loved art, so I got involved that way, I think, through just friends. I went to college in San Francisco, and I would always make clothes to go out when we would go out when we were very young, and we went out more. I would, make your own outfits or make outfits for friends, and it was just it was just really fun, and the idea to do that every day was kind of like a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of focused on it and made it happen.
Great. And now that you're very well known in San Francisco, and now obviously recently a lot of people know that you've been on Project Runway. You got a lot of exposure that way. How do you think that has affected your career and your everyday life?
Well, first and foremost, it's affected my career by that Neiman Marcus picked up my collection, which was a dream come true, and that was like the reason I kind of applied to Project Runway in the beginning. Tim Gunn asked me, and when I was kind of going through the whole process of it, Tim was like, "Why do you want to be on this show?" And I told him that I had spoken with Neiman Marcus earlier in the year, and they looked at my pieces and they were like, "This is great, but who are you?" And so they were like, "Go work on your marketing." this is beautiful work, but we need to know who you are a bit more before we can work with you. And so that's what I told Tim, that I wanted to go back to Neiman Marcus and say, I'm Christopher Collins, and then they know who that was. So it actually was able to happen, and I'm really thrilled about that. And also just the idea that my work is getting out to more people. So I think Project Runway was an amazing opportunity. It was a vessel to expand my horizons and introduce me to more people, but then also more people to
Where do
me.
you see yourself in 5 years and in 10 years down the line?
I see myself. I would love to say, like, you could shop me in Paris.
Yes.
I would love to say, look for me, in I don't know. I would love to just really have an achievable brand that has a lot of recognition, that is out there, but still feels like the essence and the quality of me, and what I do, and my message as a designer is to make a woman feel beautiful, and that's really where my motivation comes from. It feels so like it's real when I say that, to see someone trying on my clothes and walking out the door with them with that smile on her face, like, just it feels really good to me, because I know that, like, I get to be a part of her day, and it's a reflection on who she is and who I am, and it just it's amazing. And so I just want to keep going, So I guess my 5-year goal is to just keep going, and just really surprise myself.
Okay. And we ask, every time we meet with designers, we always ask them, what's a fashion regret that you have regarding an outfit that you wore one time? Do you have a what not to wear moment that you hope no one has a photograph of, or you look back and you're like, what was I thinking on that day?
Yeah, mine's actually really public, and it happened on Project Runway.
Oh, really?
It would be the last challenge, when I did the athletic wear one, that though, like, I do like those pieces, but some of them I rushed through. I was very tired, and so, like, there's that butterfly zip up hood one that is like, it kind of like gets me right in the gut when I look at it, because I remember my sketch, and I remember the concept. It was supposed to be different than what it was, but with the limited, like, I had, like, here you go. In that show, it's like you have so much time to do so many things.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able to choose the fabric that I had really wanted. I couldn't find it in the time frame. And or just kind of went down from there. But that's kind of the piece, and I think a lot of people saw it.
All right. And is there anything else that you want women to know about you and about your collection?
Just that I'm here in San Francisco. I have no intention of really moving my company out of the city, but I do want to. We have stores in New York that we sell to and around the country, and that we're easy to find. And if they ever have ideas or inspirations that they see through my work, I'd love to know about those things. I love the emails; really make my day. Okay. Getting to find out what people like about the collection, and what they're excited to see more from. So
great. And do you want to provide a way for people to contact you if they have comments, like always, Twitter or email?
Exactly. Twitter, email. You can our collection and all of our information, contact info is on our website. It's ChristopherCollinsCollection.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being today.
Thank you.